guys, this would not be an episode of Boxing 411 without the counsel of the boxing sage, boxing's new Boxtradamus. Holy cow. The one and only Mr. Rodney Green. Rodney, how the heck are you this evening, brother?
Feels so good to be back. Man, I'm so happy, man. It's just a great feeling the fall weather and definitely still feeling boxing and more boxing and more boxing. So let's get this show on the road, bro.
Oh, absolutely. And I love it that the boxing calendar has been filling up. Guys, we should not be without an enticing boxing weekend from now until the rest of the year. And, guys, the big one on free flagship ESPN is less than 2 weeks out. Be still my heart, Rodney. We're about 10 days away, brother.
Yeah, it won't be long.
Lopez and Lomachenko. Guys, we're going to talk all about that. We just sat through two press conferences, virtual press conferences the past 2 days. And, boy, we got some interesting nuggets and some interesting, tidbits from both Bob Arum as well as both competing fighters. But right now, guys, we want to, get Mr. Rodney Green, since he was so masterful in choosing the eventual winner. And once again, I don't know how you did it, brother. I know it was an even money fight, and the fight played out this way, but Jose Zepeda, in stopping Ivan Baranchyk, the beast from Belarus, in a clear fight of the year candidate and knockout of the year candidate, this was amazing. And going into this fight, obviously Ivan Baranchyk. Now, keep in mind, guys, he's a brawler. But for this matchup specifically, he just went balls out. After his team, and this was a very intelligent approach, after his team watched Jose Zepeda just take the leather to a very good fighter in Jose Pedraza in dictating the pace of the fight, consistently pressing the action. Well, they saw that performance, and they said, we're not going to let him do that to us. We're going to immediately put him on his heels early, and let's see how he handles it. Well, I tell you what, we all saw how he handled his business. Rodney, to be honest with you, I, along with Tim Bradley there, at ringside, I was just like him. I was in awe when I was seeing all of this unfold. When is the last time you've seen a fight like that, in which you've seen two guys fighting for a WBC eliminator bout just take that many bold risks in the ring?
Oh, my God, man, I'm trying to think, because that was like, when I tell you what we saw Saturday night, wasn't only the fight of the year, man. It was exhilarating. It had a rocky Ivan Drago. I mean, I'm not going to say Ivan Drago, but it had that feel of where, you're going to have to really, really overcome so much to get this victory. I would say, to me, go back to Chico and
No. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about unification bout at 135 pounds. Oh, my gosh, that was 15 years ago, 2005. Diego Chico Corrales, God rest his soul, against Jose Luis Castillo. That was brilliant. And, and obviously that was at a higher level.
Right.
But, the drama, the risk-taking, that's what we all loved about it. And once again, that's the kind of product in which you make new fans. No fans, no casual and mainstream fans want to see safety-first mentality in the ring, especially if they're going to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars for 36 minutes of action, right? Fans want to see more fight in their fight. And, boy, this event delivered on a big, big way, right? And, you look at the drama. You look at the risk-taking. It inspires. Like, fans want to be inspired, Rodney.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many inspiring efforts have we seen this year from boxing. And I know it's a very short sample to take from, but, I mean, we've seen a couple of great performances. Povetkin, Tyson Fury, but balls out like this, man, this was incredible.
Yeah, this is definitely a fight that we'll remember for quite some time. And I just want to take my hat off to both gentlemen. And if you are a boxing fan or you follow the sport and you can't have appreciation for both of those gentlemen's efforts, man, you need to reevaluate your thinking because they laid it on the line. And here's the thing, I'm not for sure if they left the ring or without, being the same kind of fighters because, man, there was a lot of punishment, Joseph. A lot of punishment they took, though. So you just pray that they can recover and, recuperate, rest well, and continue to fight still at their, level previous to Saturday Night Showdown. But, boy, Christmas came early. It was a great treat. And it just shows you that, the right type of fight where the fans can gravitate to. I mean, this is what boxing is about, though, and this is when you start to fall in love with the sport. And, again, man, I would keep that on repeat and replay because, the nights when there's no boxing or you have a fix, I don't have to necessarily go to, Gotti and Ward 1. I think I can put another one in the rotation, and that was that fight Saturday night. It lived up to its billing.
Yeah, and guys, and once again, that's why we always preach the odds to you. That's why we always try to dissect the style matchups. And once again, this is Promotions 101. Huge credit goes to Brad Goodman and Bruce Trampler, the virtuoso matchmakers at Top Rank. And once again, this is old school Promotions 101. In terms of matchmaking, Rodney, and Don Chargan educated us. I mean, he taught us so much when we used to share the air with him every Wednesday. Do you remember that? And
yes,
he would always say, look, in matchmaking, there are rules that you follow, and you recognize levels. There are levels to all of this. If you put on a fight with a good fighter and a good fighter, two good fighters, you're going to get probably a great fight. Now, if you put on a match where you have a bad fighter versus a bad fighter, often you're going to get a great fight. Now, when problems start is when you start pairing up guys who are good fighters against guys who are club-level fighters or intermediate-level fighters. That's when you always get bad fights. And so that's one of the primary reasons why on this show we always tell you to focus on the odds. Okay, the odds tell you everything you need to know about a specific matchup. And then you start dissecting the styles, and yeah, that's the first rule of matchmaking. Look at the style matchup, look at the levels. And if it's an even money fight, buckle up. Boy, and we told you guys that this was going to happen. Now, one of the things that's been irking me, though, Rodney, is once again diehard fight fans, and not all of them. Most fans of the sport are just like you and I, where they're appreciative of this kind of gladiator-type effort, right, in which they have to overcome adversity and they keep on trudging forward. How can you not be inspired by that? It's breathtaking. And that's one of the primary reasons why we watch this sport. But, well, then you get some fans, and it's enough to notice, right? Rodney, do you remember those cats like that we went to school with who were fans of music, but whenever a new band's album would come out, they would always stink on it? Oh, no, man, this stuff is crap. Yeah. I like their old stuff better, man. Oh, their old stuff's so much better. That's what these boxing diehard fans remind me of. They just want to crap on everything, thinking that it's a more intelligent way of being. Listen to some of these comments. Now, I'm not going to name what forum or what social media outlet this was on, and I'm not even going to name drop anyone because it's embarrassing. But this was from a diehard fight fan who claims to, well, know what he's looking at in the ring. And I'm quoting now. I quote from a diehard fight fan, quote, I saw two limited fighters with no defense just beat each other up. Everyone has a preference. I don't find these types of fights scintillating. I find myself screaming at the TV, move your effing head already. You know what? For the casual fan, it was exciting, end quote.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
well,
I'm like, you know what, dude? Yes, for the casual fan, maybe it was entertaining, but for me, I have a more discernible palate. Oh, my gosh.
Wow. Wow. Well, you know,
can't make these guys happy, Rodney. Your thoughts on all of this?
Well, and not to touch on it or give it a whole lot of attention, but, you know, he needs to understand, or the individual, he or she who made that statement, I mean, casual fans are really what helps the sport grow, because them watching a fight like that Saturday night, that may be enough for them to, you know, to like the sport and then to start educate themselves on the sport. So when they do see more of a technical fight or more of a, you know, defensive style encounter or fight or matchup, they can still have appreciation for that. But, man, that, as I said, the entertainment value that we got Saturday, and most boxing fans don't understand that, it's a huge element that we have to take account as well, that the entertainment aspect. And at the end of the day, you're in the fight business, but you're in the entertainment business as well. And if you say you wasn't entertained Saturday, I don't even really want to give you a lot of thought, a lot of breath, because, like you say, you can't make these guys happy. You can give them $1 million, they will say, well, where's the extra dollar at? And as I said, I witnessed a treat this past Saturday night. I definitely have it on DVR. I'm sure I will watch it again before the week is over, because, man, I'm sure that once I watch it again, I'm going to have a deeper appreciation for it, you know, because I'll probably be able to see a little bit of the, you know, nuances and just things that maybe I miss, you know, as far as the, you know, corner talk or whatever it may be. But as I said, man, that's what's wrong with boxing, you know. Stop minimizing the casual fan, because in my opinion, my humble opinion, I believe we need to get more casual fans to come into or become diehard fans to continue to get the boxing attendance up and the base just to grow overall.
That's right, because casual and mainstream sports fans are the ones who actually buy tickets. They're the ones who actually purchase the pay-per-views. Okay, diehards, check yourself, because looking at those Charlo numbers. Okay, Rodney, let me ask you something. Are there only in the United States, are there only 100,000 diehard boxing fans? Okay, so that means these idiots who are mouthing off aren't the ones financially supporting their beloved sport, the sport that they claim to love so much. All right, so if I'm a guy like Bob Arum or I'm a guy like Al Heyman, I'm like, okay, guys, thanks, but no thanks. Until you guys actually start supporting this product financially, you guys just should shut up, okay? Shut up and just stay in your lane. Mind your own business. And once again, they're looking at this, Zepeda versus Baranchyk, incorrectly. So, like, they're trying to tell us, right, these idiots are trying to actually claim that a guy with over 150 amateur fights like Ivan Baranchyk, a former IBF 140-pound titleist, is not a skilled fighter? Really? That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
A guy like Jose Zepeda, who has a wide, impressive, unanimous decision victory over a clear technician like Jose Zepeda or like Jose Pedraza. Okay, 2-division title winner. That's what he was coming off of. He just beat up Jose Pedraza, a 2-division world titleist. That guy doesn't have any skills? Okay, once again, these guys trick themselves into thinking that it's a more enlightened way of being to just crap all over everything, right? And once again, they're quite the contrary, because they're showing their lack of intelligence and their lack of insight by just throwing that against the wall. Okay, they're missing the point here. Now, once again, this is one of the reasons why I came out and stated this immediately. Rodney, when's the last time you've seen two world-class athletes take that many risks in the ring? Because you don't see that anymore. We used to see it all the time, Rodney, when we were growing up, buddy.
Right. Yeah, and as I said, it really kind of brought back nostalgia when, the fight took place this weekend. And as I said, it's like music. I mean, it's a time and a place for everything. It's a time for gospel music. It's time for you to hear maybe country. It's a time for you to hear rock and roll. But as I said, and that's what boxing is, man. It has different styles. It has different elements, different facets. But if you truly love what boxing represents as far as grit, determination, overcoming, being counted out, but still finding a way to win, how can you not like Saturday? So, I'm not going to trip off these fans that much because we've been dealing with this quite some time, Joe, for a while, as some of the fans are never satisfied. And I just think a lot of it is just father, man. They just have to complain,
my apologies. I thought you were finished, my friend. Go on, sir.
Yeah. They just have to complain. And, we're going to still probably hear some more complaints for quite some time because it's a false sense of entitlement. But as I said, though, great fight Saturday night. And, man, I'm looking forward to I love the platform that it was on, too, because we got the chance to witness that. We didn't have to pay a dime or a dime extra or have it on pay-per-view. I mean, I saw what I saw in the comfort of my home. Didn't have to pay a dime. And, again, I appreciated it. And it took me back to, like you say, the fights when we were growing up. I was able to watch them on Channel 12, ABC, NBC, CBS. And it was just a great treat, though. But the fans, man, stop, man, hating so much on the sport that you claim to love unequivocally.
Rodney, and yeah, I jumped the gun a little bit. My apologies for that. But, dude, that was perfectly summed up. I love the music analogy. And for that, sir, we're going to give you the War Week round of applause.
Yes, sir.
That was outstanding. But I tell you what, let's move on. But congratulations to Mr. Jose Zepeda. He just earned a slot, right, to face the winner of Jose Ramirez versus Josh Taylor. He becomes the WBC mandatory challenger for that belt at 140 pounds. And you know what? Congratulations, Ivan Baranchyk, for giving us a truly breathtaking effort. Glad you have a clean bill of health and are out of the hospital. Just come back. Oh, here's another thing. This is what a warrior this guy is. How can you not be inspired by this gentleman, the beast from Belarus? You know what Ivan Baranchyk said as he was leaving to the airport when someone asked him how he's doing? He said, you know what? Let's do the rematch. That's what I'm talking about, brother. Yeah.
Yep.
That's that gladiator warriors mentality, and that's how you inspire new fight fans. Like it's funny, you hear kids talking about UFC. How many kids do you hear of talking about boxing, Rodney, these days?
Very few, if any, to be honest, which is, speaks volumes.
Yep. So, yeah, we need more efforts of this nature. And we're not talking about rock'em sock'em robots. We're talking about taking risks in the ring. Okay, that was everyone's biggest criticism of Lubin versus Gaucher. You had two guys who were afraid to take risks, and it was as fun as watching paint dry. That's the difference, guys. Doesn't matter what skill level you are, what technical proficiency level you're at. If you don't want to take risks, no one's going to want to tune in. And that's it. Speaking of big idiots, though, Rodney, guess who's back in the media opening his mouth? Your boy Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte. Boy, when he found out, right, that Deontay Wilder, fellow heavyweight, dumped a longtime trainer for former welterweight champion Mark Breland, he had this to say, quote, I think it's the worst mistake he's ever made because Mark Breland is the only person in his team that actually was a boxer and actually was a world champion. He was the only person that didn't care about money or fame. He did it for the passion. If you ask me, he's just an idiot. End quote. Rodney, first of all, what was your reaction when you heard about the Mark Breland getting relieved of his duty as co-trainer for former WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder?
Well, I was surprised. I mean, we did hear rumblings about that after his last fight with Tyson Fury. I did sense some friction after his defeat. He didn't sound too happy, but at some point or shortly after that, they seemed to have reconciled, and I was under the impression that he was continuing to move forward with Mark Breland. So it's very surprisingly that he would fire him at this juncture or at this stage. So, man, I really don't know. I think he's making a colossal mistake because you're looking at Mark Breland, who arguably is one of the greatest amateurs, really
in American
ever,
boxing. Yep.
I mean, if you really look at it, and I think he helped Deontay as much as he could. Deontay for years has been able to get away with his athletic ability and his power. Now, again, he had problems with balance, in my opinion, as, I really saw his career develop. He would still have balance problems. Footwork needed to be worked on or addressed. But, if Mark Breland can't do it, I don't know who would be a upgrade. I mean, because as I said, he took Deontay with very little experience. I think Deontay started boxing when he was 17 or 18, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So he's really helped develop him since then, and I believe his presence will be missed, Joseph, in his next fight. And I know we're hearing things about, it could be Floyd, who, is his next trainer. But as I said, man, I think, styles make fights, but I think the right trainer and the right fighter makes a good fighter. And I'm not so sure that Deontay is going to be able to find that right trainer at this juncture that's going to really complement him. But we'll see.
Well, and I understand what Dillian Whyte is saying here, and I'm going to go on to finish his quote. Mark Breland knows what it's like to be in the ring because he's been in the same position Wilder was in. He's someone that cares about the athlete and the boxing side of things. He's not just a bomb squad nonsense member. He doesn't care about that stuff. He's the only one in that team that was a straight shooter. You don't see him running around and shouting and screaming. He's just a little quiet guy. He does his job. Deontay Wilder's a big idiot. He clearly can't see it. Well, good luck to him and his team. He can do whatever he wants. But I think it's a bad mistake. Mark Breland was the only one on that team that knows boxing.
Well,
here's and it kind of goes to what you're saying, Rodney.
Yeah. I mean,
well,
the thing is, he's saying it and he's emphasizing it by name calling, which I don't think is very professional. But I truly believe, though, and I would have to agree with Mr. Whyte. I mean, Deontay was able to compensate by being such an athletic freak of nature. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I said, as you begin to get older, or the more you fight, I think the more you rely on your technical background, your ring savvy, ring generalship, and as I said, these are some of the things that I'm sure Breland knows like the back of his hand. So I don't understand why Deontay really at this juncture of his career, he's been a fighter, professional, 13, 14 years, if I'm not mistaken?
Since 2008.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so, man, it's just really somewhat mind-boggling to me that he would leave Breland. But, I mean, I don't think, JD, I know he's worked with him as well as far as in the beginning and even through his amateurs. But, man, JD doesn't have the kind of boxing knowledge of a Mark Breland. Okay? Those guys do not grow on trees. So we'll see. I mean, the fight is 90 days away almost, or? Yeah.
Well,
okay.
It looks like, they're going to, and once again, this has everything to do with the finances of this matchup. Obviously, both guys are guaranteed, and this was already contractually decided last December of last year, that both guys were going to make $25 million apiece. Now, obviously, with the pandemic, unless you have a live gate, you can't afford that. So it looks like this is going to be pushed even further back to 2021, Rodney, which may be a very, very good thing for Deontay Wilder. Now, I understand what you and Dillian Whyte are saying, and you're right to a certain degree. Because, clearly Mark Breland was the brains of the operation. He is the boxing guy. He is boxing through and through. Just ask anyone growing up and watching him just dazzle fans with this superb technique in the amateurs, right? He was a superstar in Brooklyn, right? But, and Emmanuel Stewart taught me this a long time ago. He said, you know what? Heavyweights are a pain in the ass, Joseph. He said they're very hard to motivate them, so you really have to find that hot button, what's going to motivate these guys, because with their size comes just as big of an ego, and they don't listen. They don't want to listen, so you always have to find what's going to motivate your fighter. And he was talking, and he was specifically, when he was telling me this story, he was specifically referencing Oliver McCall, saying that, look, no one wanted to train this guy. And Don King, his friend, called him up and said, hey, can you please take this guy on? Georgie Benton doesn't want to take him on anymore. He's a head case. He's got the cheese done slid off the cracker with this guy. He doesn't want to have anything. So Emmanuel's like, oh, come on, man. I know. His reputation precedes him. He's a drug addict. He's kind of a pain in the ass. But I tell you what, just for you, Don, I'll sit down with him and I'll talk to him, okay? Because and once again, Don wanted this because he had a huge fight coming up, taking on Lennox Lewis, right? The current title holder. At the time, he was the title holder. He was the champion. So Oliver McCall, Don King, that was his guy, Oliver McCall. And he said, look, no one wants to train him, and this is his shot to win the World Heavyweight Championship. So Emmanuel Stewart sat down with him, talked to him for about 4 or 5 hours. And he called up Don King, and he said, okay, I think I know where this guy's head is at. I think I know what's going to motivate him, and we're going to work on a strategy to beat Lennox Lewis. And he did it. And Emmanuel, he was very insistent, said, look, everybody is different. You have to find that hot button. What's going to motivate this guy? What's going to get the most out of him from the gym and in the ring? And I think that's what was failing. Obviously, Deontay Wilder was listening more frequently to the yes men, the guys blowing smoke up his ass, telling him he's the greatest, he's an all-time great, he deserves to be in the same conversation as George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, and he was believing it. And so I think Mark Breland's inability to motivate Deontay and keep him grounded, I think that's why he ultimately let him go. Now, once again, who's going to be able to motivate a guy like Deontay Wilder? Rodney, in your opinion, because I know there have been talk about Floyd Mayweather, but more than likely you're going to have JDs, and former heavyweight contender Malik Scott is more than likely going to try and fill that role. In your opinion, should he get someone who's going to garner the same amount of respect as like an Emmanuel Stewart?
Well, it depends on what Deontay wants in his career. Is he content with, still getting a nice paycheck, or is he going to continue to enhance his legacy? Those are the questions that, have yet to be answered. Now, just to piggyback on it, if you're going to settle for Malik Scott and JD, then clearly I don't think that you're trying to get the best cornerman or the best person for the job. Okay? So he has other motives, I believe, if he goes that way. Maybe he wants to hear yes, man, because if you're talking about Malik Scott was supposedly getting you prepared for Tyson Fury the last fight. Okay? You brought him in for sparring. Okay? And we all saw how that worked out. So, maybe Emmanuel was right, man. Sometimes heavyweights, ego gets inflated. They get in their moods, and it's going to be their way or the highway. It could be an issue with finances. It could be a plethora of reasons why Deontay has his current state of mind. But I tell you what, I am starting to see Deontay get hit a little bit more easier than his frequent fights, though, Joseph. Even if you go back to fight when he had Ortiz, he was starting to get hit pretty often. He really started to get hit with Tyson in the Tyson Fury matches. Whoever he chooses, I think, man, it's really going to have an impact on how long Deontay stays in the sport. Either he's going to enhance his career or further it with the proper guy to get in his ass and tell him that what needs to be done, or he's going to have somebody that's going to pacify him, and I think you're going to see a downward slide. But he still will garner some big paychecks, and I think that's going to kind of be somewhere in between the answers that we should get coming up.
That is a very insightful response, Rodney, and very well stated. Now, we're going to start talking about someone who's obviously lobbying for that co-trainer position. And to be honest with you, I think it's what has to be done, not necessarily from a strategic standpoint, but if Heyman wants to sell this fight and create that added interest into a matchup that most people think is a foregone conclusion at this point, yeah, they could do a lot worse than hiring Floyd Mayweather as his chief second. Now think about how much more interest this would bring to the casual and mainstream audience if Floyd Mayweather agreed to be his chief second, and we all saw Floyd walking right next to Deontay Wilder on their way to the ring. That would generate so much more. Now, here's what he said about what he thinks he can do to improve Deontay Wilder's skill level. Now, I'm going to do my Floyd impression. It's been a while since I've done this, man. Quote, Tyson Fury is solid. He's got skills. Deontay Wilder, but he's got bombs. That's why they call himself the Bronze Bomber. He's got bombs. We can say that, but we can make his skills a lot better. A one shocking equalizer. He's got that right hand. He could end the fight. But look, the only thing he needs are the basic fundamentals. As long as he has the basic fundamentals, I can do the rest. As long as he has the fundamentals, I can teach him how to beat Tyson Fury. End quote. Rodney, yeah. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with that as well, and it goes back to say, as I alluded to earlier, what direction are they really trying to take Deontay Wilder's boxing career? Is it just to sell tickets to get fat paychecks, or, as I said, to kind of, maybe have a yes man? Now, Floyd is not a yes man by no means. He will create some intrigue, no doubt. Okay, he will create a lot of intrigue by being his corner man. But, guys that like Floyd Mayweather, his boxing ability, it would be so hard to translate that to help Deontay, because Floyd was about reflexes, the shell defense. Everything he did was textbook. Now, Floyd said something very interesting. Well, if he has the basics and the fundamentals, he can take care of everything else. The last few fights I've seen Deontay Wilder fight, Joseph, he's been fundamentally flawed. I mean, when he fought Luis, King Kong, his fundamentals, his balance was awful. And this last Fury fight, his conditioning, his balance, his jab or lack thereof a jab, it's terrible. Floyd will really have his work cut out for him. And I don't know if Floyd is dedicated to give him a 60-day training camp where he's just totally focused on Deontay Wilder. That would be very interesting to see if Floyd can do that. But nevertheless, it will create good theater, I believe. It will increase pay-per-view sales. But remember, you're dealing with heavyweights, and one mistake, man, one shot, one kill can end your career. And it's going to be a lot of pressure on whoever is the corner, the chief one in charge, because if they find themselves in that same position like they did last time with Fury in February, man, don't let your brave heart get the best of you, because you start getting hit flush over and over again and doesn't have anything left. The best thing to do is throw in the towel. So we'll see what happens, though. But it's very interesting, and I'm curious, though. I really am, Joseph.
Well, yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. It's a question of whether or not Deontay Wilder, and once again, has those basic fundamentals committed to muscle memory. Because once again, he's been learning on the job, just like you stated, since 2008. And he's still obviously learning on the job. Does he have the humility to take direction from a guy like Floyd Mayweather? And here's the big one. Does Floyd Mayweather have the patience to deal with a huge, egoed-out pain in the ass like Deontay Wilder? Heavyweights, like Emmanuel Stewart, heavyweights are a big pain in the ass. There's training lower weight fighters, and then there's training heavyweights. It's a completely different animal. He was very clear in stating that. They're terrible pupils. They're terrible at taking direction. They all have huge egos, especially when you have a little person like Emmanuel Stewart, who is 5'7", yelling at you, barking orders. Boy, that's a lot for a big man to take. Same situation is going to be with Floyd Mayweather if he decides to, and that's another thing. Is Floyd Mayweather really willing to attach his brand to Deontay Wilder in this third fight when he's not going to be the favored guy?
Yes. And, at the end of the day, you're dealing with, Deontay may have an ego, but, man, we all know Floyd, his ego is going to reign supreme. But, the worst thing that can happen is Floyd start the training and then get so frustrated because the things that Floyd know in his sleep, that Floyd can wake up in his pajamas and do, muscle memory it's going to last him a lifetime. He's going to find himself repeating it over and over again with Deontay, if that's the case. And Joseph, man, when you start working with someone, it takes a while to build up a chemistry. But when you start working with someone who clearly is one of the best fighters ever, been boxing since he was 3 or 4 years old, is comfortable as a fish with being water, and that's what Floyd has always been in that ring. To Deontay, where you're learning on the job, man, you got to have the right instructor, Joseph, for that, though. And you're going to, again, I don't think that's Floyd, but as I said, I've seen stranger things happen. Let's just see how it plays out. Let's see what Al Heyman has in store to increase ticket sales or pay-per-view buys and helping, Deontay with his next manager, I should say.
Well, yeah, it remains to be seen. We'll see how this unfolds. To be honest with you, Rodney, I have to see it to believe it. Once again, Deontay Wilder is going to have to be very humble in his approach with his third fight against Tyson Fury. Because Tyson Fury at this point, he is so versatile and so fluid. And right now, his mentality, he is brimming with confidence. How easy is that Rodney, to overcome that kind of adversity when you're basically, your advantages are very limited to your power in your right hand and your athleticism. And that's arguable.
Right.
That's debatable, actually, at this point. Because Tyson Fury, correct me if I'm wrong, brother, but I don't think I've ever seen a man that large move that fluidly around the ring.
Not since Muhammad Ali. I'm going to be honest with you. As far as the heavyweight, I mean, I could be, it may be now that I think about it, you're right.
And look, Ali was 6'4". This guy is 6'10".
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I've never seen a man his size move as fluidly as he does around the ring. He is so versatile. Obviously, not only can he box and control range with his jab and his footwork, but we all saw that he can fight underneath on the inside as well. And he can be the effective aggressor. We all saw that in the last fight. So best of luck, Deontay. We'll see what happens, brother. Like I said, use this time off. Use it to your advantage. They keep pushing this fight back. Well, take advantage of this time. And, don't keep beating your chest that you're the king. Prove it in the ring, brother. But I tell you what, let's move forward. We've just got about 20 minutes left, Rodney. And we still have to talk about, and once again, we want to save some of it for next week's show because that's going to be the big Lomachenko versus Lopez preview. But I just want to talk about a couple of things, brother. Lomachenko, and we just saw him today, right, in a virtual press conference. And when they were talking about, why isn't there a rematch clause? He said this, 135 pounds is not my weight class. For me, my weight class that is more comfortable is 130, but I need 4 belts. I need to be the undisputed world champion. That's why I moved to 35. Do you like that mindset? I appreciate his honesty, but do you like that mindset going into basically the toughest fight in his professional career?
Yes, I don't like that because I feel like he's conceding and he's already saying win, lose, or draw, I'm going to go back to 130 because I don't like it. So, as I said, I don't like that mindset, to be honest. As I said, boxers and, they can be a different animal. I'm never going to say he's afraid or he's copping out, but maybe that was a precautionary statement to say, you know what, I'm going to go back to 130 and just continue to dominate there. I tried 135. I won the belt, or I lost, and it's not my natural weight, so no big deal. I'll go back to 130. So, that's a very interesting statement, but I said years ago that at 135, Lomachenko looks more humane to me. He looks more human. At 130, him and Floyd Mayweather, they probably the best to do it at that weight, to be honest, though. But at 135, his performance level, you can see the difference, Joseph. You really can.
Yeah, to be honest with you, brother, when I heard that quote, right, that was very alarming to me. And you know what? I was on the fence with this. And to be honest with you, when you hear Teofimo Lopez brimming with confidence, once again, I love using that term because it's accurate, and then you hear Vasyl Lomachenko talk like this, it's already a foregone conclusion. He's win or lose, he's going to move back down. He couldn't care less about defending this title any further. He doesn't care about a rematch, win or lose. That's not a good thing, brother. And then you look at the odds. Boy, they are tightening. Right now, Vasyl Lomachenko is still listed as a 3-1 betting favorite, but Teofimo Lopez, his end is shrinking. He's right now, according to Fox Bet, sitting at a plus 205. That's a very live 2-1 betting underdog. And to be honest with you, if it stays this way going into October 17th, yeah, I'm going to more than likely encourage everyone to put some long green on a Teofimo Lopez knockout. Not only am I going to take the knockout, but I'm taking the under also.
Wow.
Like, I'm taking, yes, and after listening to, and once again, this is why we sit in and listen to these press conferences, listen to both fighters speak. Now listen to, now here's a quote from Teofimo Lopez. This is what he had to say about everything. And he's a fascinating kid, man. He really is. He said, you know what? Quote, Lopez said this, quote, you know, I just don't like him. I don't like the way, you know, he carries himself. Now, it's behind the scenes. I've seen him, the way he treats people and the way he walks around, right, behind the scenes, and I just don't like him. I can't stand him. That's why on October 17th, I can't wait to put my hands on him. Sorry, Bob, I know that's your guy, but he ain't going to be your guy after this, end quote. In his mind, he can't lose. Now, once again, It almost like if you didn't know any better, you would think that it was some kind of fabricated bravado, a lot like, because it almost sounds a lot like, Rodney, Fernando Vargas before he fought Oscar De La Hoya. Do you remember that?
Yep, absolutely. That's
what it sounds like, but Fernando Vargas, correct me if I'm wrong, but he had already lost to Felix Trinidad and wasn't the same after that.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't ever the same.
This kid doesn't know how to lose. This kid is one biscuit shy of junior welterweight. This is a big, strong, powerful, athletic, gifted 135-pounder. And I'm sorry, I'm going to make these comparisons. He's got speed, reflexes, instincts of a young Floyd, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Yep, and he has more power, which is very scary. And I always said, you know, he just has to hit Basile one time. You know, one time. That's all it takes. So this is a closer fight, I believe, than people are really, really giving it credit for. And it's the reason why I think the odds are shrinking. Because, as I said, a lot of times you can be young and it can play to your advantages because you feel like, you know what, this moment is, been groomed for me all my life. There's no pressure on me. I know I can do it. I'm the younger fighter. I'm the more explosive fighter. And, you know, that false sense of security can definitely be a vote of confidence in his, in his eyes and in his perspective. And maybe he sees something that we don't see, but I really believe that what he sees, that 135 and 130, you're dealing with two different fighters. I truly believe that, and I think with the possibility we're going to see that next week. I really do.
Yeah, it's funny. Before I sat in and listened to both press conferences, I was heavily leaning towards Lomachenko, and we talked about this in previous shows, that damn footwork. Now, once again, when dealing with a prolific counterpuncher, his footwork, it always disrupts the timing and rhythm of a prolific counterpuncher, and that's what Teofimo Lopez is. Now, he's a more aggressive-minded counterpuncher than, say, Guillermo Rigondeaux or Gary Russell Jr., but he's still an offensive-minded counterpuncher like Nicholas Walters was, right? And we all saw what that footwork did to disrupt the timing and rhythm of that. And that's why I was leaning towards Lomachenko very heavily. But after listening to both men speak, and especially what Lomachenko had said about he's moving down to 130, win or lose, right there, that was a huge red flag in my mind. And I have to say, and once again, I'm not going to make my final prediction yet, but right now, if I had a gun to my head, I would be leaning towards Teofimo Lopez after listening to both men speak. Once again, maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, brother, but yeah, and Lopez, he would be a very good used car salesman if he weren't a boxer, because he's very convincing, as confident as he is, and he makes a lot of sense. Now, it's funny, when you look at his, and once again, Bob Arum's a very intelligent boxing guy. He's got the support of Hall of Fame matchmaker Bruce Trampler, future Hall of Fame matchmaker Brad Goodman, to, basically support and give him evidence of these decisions, right? And so Lopez, in his remarks, saying, sorry, Bob, I know that's your guy, but he's not going to be your guy after the 17th. Truth being told, Rodney, Bob Arum, he truly believes that Teofimo Lopez, he's got another young Floyd Mayweather on his hands. That's why he didn't want this fight. And the only reason why he's making this fight is because in his mind, he thinks Lopez is too young. This is too soon. It's like, I don't want to ruin your future Hall of Fame career. I truly believe you are one of the next big stars of the sport, that you've got it. The personality, the skills, everything, the youth, you've got it all. You can be the biggest star of the sport eventually, and I don't want to ruin you by putting you in with this virtuoso. So, yeah, truth be known, Bob is sold on Teofimo Lopez, and he didn't want this fight, not yet. He was looking at possibly 2021 or 2022. And the reason why he made this fight is because Teofimo insisted on it, and he didn't want to lose him. Because what happens, Rodney, when you do not get the fighters, the fights, the matchups, the events that they want?
Well, they go to the next promoter, and they try their luck with them. So, I'm sure Bob did everything he could in his power, but ultimately, I'm sure it came down to Teofimo and his dad and his pops, and they felt like, you know what, this is the direction that we want to go. And you know what, man, maybe he's going to shock the world like Ali. Maybe he truly believes, and maybe he can, as I said. But he definitely has the entertainment value. I love the way he's promoted the fight. I can't wait till next Saturday, and I just hope that win, lose, or draw, that he still is able to ascend in his boxing career, because such a great talent, still very young, and, man, it's going to be interesting next Saturday, though. But win, lose, or draw, I would still hope he has a bright future ahead of him, because, man, there's so much action at 130 or 135. A lot of action out there, a lot of good fights to be made in the future. So we'll see what happens.
Indeed, brother. And there's a big fight coming up on Saturday night on ESPN Plus. We're not going to really talk about it because, in my opinion, although Ruben Villa is a tough guy, right, in my opinion, he's not on Emmanuel Navarrete's level. He's not. And it's so – most odds makers, handicappers, they think that this isn't even worth putting up some action or putting up a betting line on this. Like, if I had to estimate, I would say Emmanuel Navarrete probably deserves to be a 12-1 or 10-1 favorite at least, and that's being generous. So we're not even going to discuss that. But, guys, we urge everyone to go see a real stud and a future star of the sport, Emmanuel Navarrete, this Saturday night on ESPN Plus. I wish we were still seeing Sergey Lipinets, but unfortunately his fight has been pushed back due to visa issues for October 24th. But the last thing I want to discuss, Rodney, get your thoughts on Halloween night, brother. It's going to be a jam-packed day and evening of boxing. Not only do you have the pay-per-view event of Gervonta Davis, Leo Santa Cruz being thrust or pushed back to Halloween night in San Antonio, Texas at the Alamodome, but during the day, this is one that's kind of flying under the radar. You've got Alexander Usyk versus Derek Chisora across the pond during the day. And then on ESPN, Well, you've got the return of the Beast, Inoue, taking on Maloney. That is a great all-action fight also. And it's going to be Inoue's first fight back, well, since getting his face broken by Nonito Donaire. Is he the same guy? This is going to be a great full day of boxing on Halloween. But let's talk a little bit about Alexander Usyk versus Derek Chisora. Right now, the betting line is opening at a -800, and Derek Chisora is a +450. Do you think that the opening betting line should be this wide? Do you think the level and the class is that? Do you think there's that much of a disparity?
I don't, to be honest. So I don't agree with that. I think that this fight is not clear-cut, to be honest. If I'm picking, though, I'm going to go with Usyk, though. But as I said, though, I don't think those odds really reflect what's going to happen when these guys fight, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and Usyk obviously comes from the same school of Vasyl Lomachenko, being trained by his dad as well, right? This fight, Rodney, reminds you. Do you remember when we covered almost a decade ago now, Vasyl Lomachenko's first title opportunity against Orlando Salido in the Alamo Dome?
Yep, absolutely.
That's what this fight reminds me of on the heavyweight level. Because, and it's funny, one of the reasons why Salido gave Lomachenko so much trouble was, one, this was his very first 12-round fight, but most importantly, even though he has 400 amateur fights, right, you don't see that aggressive, mauling, in-your-face, volume-punching style in the amateurs. Most of the time you like to control distance with your jab, with your footwork, and you don't see very many inside fights in the amateurs. That's why Orlando Salido gave him so many problems. And to be honest with you, Derek Chisora is basically the Orlando Salido of the heavyweight division. Is Usyk going to be able to handle a big, strong, aggressive-minded fighter like Derek Chisora who doesn't know how to quit?
Well, I truly believe that Chisora, he will do a lot of holding. He's the bigger fighter. But I just think that when it's all said and done, I do think Usyk's skills would get him across the finish line. And it might come down to where it's a tough fight to judge as well because, as you know, the Salido and Lomachenko, the judges had their work cut out for them that night because it was so much holding. Again, Salido had the experience, so he had, all the tricks under his sleeve to really make it a ugly fight. We could see that in this same, heavyweight showdown that's going to be coming up on the 31st. But I just think that from a skill perspective, I think Usyk, I would have to pick him, though, in my opinion, though, but not by much. And you never know, man. Heavyweights, as you know, Joseph, it just takes one shot to change the fight, to change the outcome. But very interesting fight, and we'll see if those odds change going forth.
Yeah, in my opinion, and once again, like you alluded to, the low blows, the punches, the kidney punches, the punches on the hip, the punches in the back of the head, the punches on the clinch, the elbows underneath. He really tried to rough up Vasyl Lomachenko to take him out of his game so he never got into rhythm. But even with that said, Vasyl Lomachenko almost stopped him in the 12th round.
Yep.
And once again, Usyk is that good where, look, if anyone's going to beat him, I have to see it to believe it. Because once again, it's that damn footwork. It's a foundation of his defense, and he's so slippery, you can't get him. But once again, Chisora knows this. He's like, okay, the only way I'm going to have any success against this guy, I'm going to have to close that distance to cut off his reaction time so he can't evade any of my shots, which are going to be coming at all angles, including behind the head, including in the kidneys, including in the hip, and including in the cup. So, yeah, we're going to see, put it this way, Derek Chisora, there's nothing beneath him.
Yep.
He will resort to anything to get that W, and at this stage in his career, this could be his last opportunity to compete for a major world title. Keep in mind, guys, the winner of this fight is going to take on, well, more than likely going to fight for the vacant WBO heavyweight championship. So this is the last chance saloon for Derek Chisora. I'm with you, even though I favor Usyk, Rodney. Yeah, I think the odds are a little too wide on this. Now, keep in mind, this is Alexander Usyk's second professional fight in the heavyweight division, just like it was Lomachenko's second professional fight in the featherweight division. You see where I'm going with that, brother?
Yes, sir.
I tell you what, though, we're out of time. We're at the end of the show, Rodney. Do you have any parting shots for our listening audience, my friend?
No, just continue to support the sport. And as I said, I look forward, and I appreciate you guys tuning in every week. And let's get a groundswell of support, because I personally want to see Charlo versus Andrade. Make it happen, okay? I would love to see that fight. And that's going to be about all, and we'll be back Tuesday to give it to you again. Y'all have a good night.
Guys, he's Rodney Green. You can catch him every Tuesday night right here on Boxing 411. But that's going to just about do it. Guys, we want to thank everyone for tuning in. And once again, this show is brought to you by Rod We Trust and EXP Realty. Guys, for any of your, if you're looking for a house in the South Texas area, go visit Rod We Trust. Also, go visit FightSaga.com for all the latest boxing news. But, guys, on behalf of Rodney Green, my name is Joseph Herron. We want to thank you for tuning in. Have a great Tuesday evening, everybody.